Hey, Shawna, do you still train your body the same way today as you did when you were, say, 19, 20 years old?
So 40 years ago?
Yeah.
No.
What about the way you think about your body and the body shape and the perfect body, the body type you want? Are you still thinking about that the same today as you were at age 19 or 20?
Not the same, and neither is our guest, Maria Gonzales, who is the CEO of Club Fitness Greensboro. And we have an interesting talk with her about her own evolution regarding just being a woman, an athlete, a career woman, a CEO. Lots of gold nuggets here.
And before we dive in, I want to give a shout out to our Girls Talk Healthy Aging listener, Miss Shannon Hilton. Thanks for listening. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Girls Talk Healthy Aging podcast, where we dive deep into pressing health and fitness issues facing aging women. I'm Alli Kerr.
And I'm Shawna Kaminski. And together we'll bring candid conversations, expert advice, and personal stories that will inspire and empower you on your own wellness journey.
I don't know if I've ever met anyone with more energy than our guest today, so I'm super excited to have Miss Maria Gonzales with us today from Club Fitness Greensboro. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you, Alli. I am excited to be here with both of you.
We are excited to have you and learn from you about what's going on in Greensboro. So how did you get started in fitness? We'll just start there.
Well, I was a young girl who did competitive swimming since age 5. So all my life was swimming year-round in Colombia. And at age 15, I felt that I was getting old and my times were not getting faster. So I retired from swimming after doing it 10 years year round. And I found water polo, which it was, like it became my new passion, my loved, trained really hard, made it all the way to the national team. And so just, like exercise has always been part of my life, has always been part of what I do and what I know. Joined a gym since I was 11, going to group exercise, was in group exercise exhibition groups. I love to dance. So it's, exercise is my life. It's what I do. It's what it grounds me, what it makes me happy, is my happy place. So never thought that it was going to become my job or that I was going to have the opportunity to do what I love to do. So moved from Colombia in my 20s. I was 20 when I moved to Miami and started working under an ex-Olympian in Miami in swimming. And then 2.5 years after that, then I moved to Greensboro, and I have been working for Club Fitness for 24 years, almost 24 years. And I started in the aquatics department as a lifeguard who barely spoke English. So have, grown and pretty much done everything. But love the impact that exercise has in people's lives. Like I said, I started with swimming. So for me, swimming was a way of empowering people, showing people that they could do something that maybe they thought that they couldn't do if they were afraid, or if they thought that they could do it, how could they do it better and how could they do it more effectively? And when you take that really applies to anything in the exercise world, right? So what are your goals? What are your needs? Do you even know what is your why? But then when you kind of like crack that egg or like crack that code and help people get there, it's magical.
I was going to ask how you have changed throughout the journey of being in the fitness industry with your own body and your own fitness journey. We're not going to talk about your age today or how old you are, but I know that you've been through different stages. So can you talk to us more about the stage that you're in now and what that's like?
So I personally don't have any problem talking about my age. I am proud of my age. I will be 47 this year. So it has been an evolution, I would say. I think as we become more mature, maybe we become wiser. I have always had lots of energy. I have always been one of those that, I'm on the go, and that just like fits my personality, that fits who I am. But at times, like it may not be like hard. It's the only way of doing things, right? Or it's not what your body needs at that moment. So I think listening to your body, understanding what is the right thing for you, and more as a woman at that moment, in that time of the month, or physically and mentally how you're feeling, it's extremely important to give yourself grace. If I want to, like, almost like be kind to ourselves, like challenge and push yourself, to those limits. And I think that's something that I always do. But on the other hand, be kind to yourself. And if your body's telling you that you need to rest, that you need to sleep, that you need to go for a walk, that you need to just watch a movie, go for it. Why not?
Do you think that's a gift of age? Would the younger Maria take a break? Because I know that for myself, over time, I am giving myself more grace, and I'm hoping that other women are catching that message, that it's okay to take a day off, to do a walk, to skip a workout and watch a movie if that is what you need that day.
Sure. Absolutely comes with age, Shawna. I don't think the younger Maria will go for that. Like, it was like the more the better, the harder better. Like, it was always on the go. And I'm not saying that that was bad at that time. Like, nobody was pushing me to do it. It was me, right? Like, it
Yeah.
was how my body felt, how I responded to things. And I do it most of the time. But on the other hand, I understand that that is not necessarily more or harder, it's better, right? And it does come with age. And I feel that many people will tell us things, but until you just like don't go through it, or you just don't, I know, I guess it is maturity, right? Like, like people will say, oh, if I would know what I know now when I was your age,
Yeah.
I would apply it differently, right? Like, and it's just, I don't know.
Are
Yeah.
you finding that your body requires more rest or recovery with aging? And are you still swimming?
We're going to interrupt this interview for just a second because we've got something we want to make sure that you know.
If you're struggling with your health, with your fitness, if you don't know where to start, or you know what to do and you're not doing it, we're here for you.
And all you need to do to get our help is to reach out to Shawna and I at our email, sapodcast23@gmail.com. And we're happy to help, and we will be in touch. Now back to the show.
So I don't compete as I was doing at one point. And, I think at times I would say, I don't know if my body will need more rest. Probably does, but I'm not training 7 hours a day as I did at one point in my life. Right. So now I can get a workout that it can be 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. Depends on the day. I can just go. I do still swim, but I don't swim, as much as I did at one point in my life. So, I may swim a few times a week. I have not played water polo in a good while. I had a shoulder injury, and that was another one, right? Like, like we think that our bodies are responding the same way that they did when we were younger or when we were training more. So just seeing the sports medicine or the DO, he's like, Maria, sometimes you can put your body through shock because you're not training at the level that you were training. So now you're like forcing your body, right? Like, to throw, to catch, to do things super hard, but then you're not training for that specifically many, many hours a
Yeah.
week. So if I do it once a week, my poor body is like taking it. So, I probably will be more prone to injuries in some ways. But I try to sprinkle a little bit of everything on my workout. So I like swimming, I like roller skating, I love dancing. I'm into strength training because I understand the importance of strength training for women, and more women of, my age, our age. I don't know what the listeners, like what age they are, but strength training is important for women at all ages. Yes, I would say probably I do need more rest, but I am not training, at the level that I did at one point.
And for our listeners, one thing a lesson that I hear in what you're saying that I know that can be a tendency, especially if someone's new to working out or they haven't worked out in a while, we can also tend to not realize that we haven't been training for that sport for working out, and we can go too hard too soon, and our body hasn't been doing those things, and then we're more prone for injury and setbacks. And so, whether you're an athlete or not, if you're active and you're moving, making sure that we do it based on what we've been doing, that we start and take those steps, I think is super important.
Absolutely. I think it is that I I always tell members, I'm like, just take it easy, just build, you're not going to go from 0 to 100, right? Like, there is always a way to get there. I'm not saying that you're not going to get there, but you absolutely right, Alli. Like you have to build, because otherwise, people may be too sore to come back the next day for another workout, so then is that going to keep you 4 days out? And I'm talking about people that maybe are not used to exercise. I think the ones that we're used to exercise, we may be sore and we're like, oh, this feels great, and then let me go for more, right? But that's not the case for everybody. A lot of people relate soreness with pain and discomfort. And if that is the correlation with exercise, then are they going to come back?
Or they think something is wrong. They've hurt themselves if they're sore. Yeah. Because I know that when I have beginners, like that is one of the educational pieces is educating them what is the difference between muscle soreness and something's wrong with your joint, like a joint pain, and that is something that if we haven't moved our bodies in that way and lived an active lifestyle, we just don't know. We don't know the difference. We don't know how that feels. And if we have not exercised, we can get so sore so quickly, so easily. And so really taking it in small bites, especially if you're new, is super important.
What I find too is that a lot of times someone returning to exercise will think that they can return at their previous intensity. And then they get so down on themselves that I used to be able to, when really this is the current body you live in. This is the current reality. So let's just start here, and maybe we'll get there and maybe we won't, but that's all right.
100%. I even like say it, like as we were going back to play water polo, like many of the adults, I mean, the conditioning that you have to be like swimming every day and then just to be able to go back and forth. So of course, like we go in, we're maybe, like playing once a week, swimming, like once or two more times. And then we're trying to play against the high schoolers that they are younger, more active. There is no way to keep up with them, right? Like, and yes, mentally in your head, you're like, oh, I used to do that. Well, it doesn't work like that.
No, I think that's one of the biggest mistakes and you know what? It really kills your joy. I'm always reminding my clients that it is unfair to be comparing yourself to where you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. A lot of people will like take out clothes from their closet and say, but I used to fit this. It's like, yeah, but it doesn't matter. That is an unfair, it's just a killer of joy. So let's just look at the things we can do today rather than the things that we can't do. Always focusing on that half full. What can we do? Because otherwise it just gets very discouraging.
And it's having those realistic goals, right? Like, it's almost like if we make goals that they're so unachievable, then we're already failing. We're not gonna get there, right? Like, we can push, like I said, push your boundaries and push to get there, but then you're gonna have to build those bricks to one point, like just maybe like, is that really what you want and you want to keep pushing? Then you're gonna have to work really hard. But yeah, I agree with that. So I read a book from Dara Torres. I don't know if you guys have read it. It's I believe is like age is just a number. And she talks about when she went back, like, you know, in her last Olympics, and, you know, like just being a wiser athlete, a more mature athlete, and then competing with these, like, you know, she competed like the 50 meter freestyle, which, you know, it's super, I mean, all of them are super hard, but you're just talking about that pretty much everybody has the same time, and it's just tenths of a second, right? Like, you know, it's just
Hundreds.
touching that wall, right? Like, you know, nothing right there. And she said that, you know, like she will travel with her masseuse, and, you know, like she would have to get in the water like hours before to warm up, you know, like almost like understanding what your body needs to be able to perform at that level, and understand that it is different. It is different than, you know, when you were 18 and 19 years old, and now you're in your late 30s, 40s, right? So, yeah, I just think that age comes with great things, and experience and wisdom and maturity are some of them. And, you know, we just need just to use that.
Yeah, and whether you are training for the 50-meter freestyle in an elite event, or you are training, and I always use the word training to, you know, be able to get up and down off the floor, to pick up your grandchildren, to keep up with your kids, to go hiking with your, you know, elementary school kids, like whatever age you're at, having a realistic expectation. What are you seeing? Like, what's the demographic at your club? Is it an aging population? How do you handle women that are coming in that maybe haven't exercised in a long time? How do you get them going?
So we do have programs, like small group programs, that we try to pair people with, that, you know, like they can just like work with other people similar to their levels, their age. You know, also people are attracted to groups that they are similar to them. So, you know, and I think we've seen that throughout the years, right? Like, you know, we've seen them, you know, like through group exercise, we see them through yoga, we see them through Pilates. I think they maybe interesting part for me is like, how do we get people that they're so comfortable in only one area to maybe do some other things that they're important, to just like really have a well balanced training and workout, right? So like if I am a swimmer, for example, and the only thing that I do is swimming, it's great. It's a great cardiovascular work, and I'm not going to say that swimming is not wonderful, because I love it, but I need to get out of the water and do some strength training, right?
Yeah,
And that part is so hard,
yeah,
because
Yeah.
some people, the only thing that they want to do is like, if they're not in the water, they're not working out. And I'm, you know, I don't want to do
Yeah.
the other part, you know, and I think I would say that's not specifically for us. I think that's just general.
yeah.
Yeah, I like to think of it as we're not fish. What I've told someone, we're not fish. We don't live in the water. We live on land. So we have to be strong to also to live on the land, not just in the water. So yeah.
Yeah, like, so it's just all about balance. And I think, Shawna, like
Mhm.
one thing that you said that I want people to know, like, you know, just deep down, like the importance of becoming strong, just not, you know, like even for that one event. I think that's great. But like for life, to be able to like get your luggage and then just lift it, you know, like by yourself, right? Like, you know, like get your grocery bags, you know, like being able to open a jar, like, I mean,
Mhm.
like things that, you know, like just
Every
give you
day.
independence, right? Like, you know, getting off and like on and off your bed in your car, you know, we're squatting, I mean, like all of these things that are just going to help us just age better and stronger. And so how do we make that message so important to women, that they understand that it goes beyond exercise, it goes beyond what we have been thinking forever, that is that perfect image of a body.
We had a guest yesterday, and she mentioned that our focus needs to be on not fat loss but muscle gain. so that we have longevity. And I really loved the way Ann Gilbert put it when she said, in our 40s, we need to be training for that, for those final innings, because once we get into our 70s and 80s, those are our final innings. And if we haven't put in the time earlier in our life, we will not be able to get up and, hit the ball in those final innings. And I do believe that women are starting to get the message of strength training. I think if we continually bring it back to the fact that, like you just said, if we are not lifting something, how are we going to travel and put our overhead luggage, in the plane? How are we going to enjoy the things that we are planning in our retirement if we are not building the foundation now? So I think that all of us, we're all on our soapbox trying to get that message across, and however it gets across. And it really is hard for, say, a swimmer. I'm also a swimmer, to if that's something that you love, like I'm swim on a master's team, and lots of my teammates are like, oh man, I should be doing resistance training. I should. And I agree, they should be. They're doing a great thing by getting in the pool. But sometimes resistance training can sound so overwhelming, and it doesn't really have to be a lot. It could be 15 minutes twice a week, and that can be enough. So I think probably in your club, I know Alli, and I know I do the same, is that breaking it down and making it simple. What would you say are the most important resistance training exercises that you would recommend for somebody that wants to remain strong and functionally fit over time? What would you recommend?
Well, like, I mean, you're looking at your squats, you're looking at your hinges, you're looking at your, like, farmers carriers, like, you're looking, like, overhead presses. So I think, to your point, you can just look at it very basic, on those very important movements of the body that, we need just to get people. But it is important for us as women. I always, my mom passed 3 years ago, and I was with her at the hospital, for like 14 days, and just, like, hearing, like, every person that it was coming to the room just to do therapy, right? Like, we need to get you off the bed, because if you cannot get off the bed, then you're going to stay here longer. And so I was, with her 24/7 during those 14 days, and just seeing, my mom was 67 years old, and she had already lost a lot of like muscle mass. She was not a very active person. But seeing how all of that impact the well-being, the recovery, and just something as basic, just like to have strong quads, to have strong hamstrings, to have strong glutes, right? Like, you want to get them to go, independently, to go to the bathroom by themselves. So, I mean, it's not only when you're sick, but if you think that you have not been working out to build that strength, when we have to be in bed because of an injury, you're going to be losing that muscle mass and that muscle strength very quickly. I just think that just like very basic, like movement patterns to do the things that we do, on our daily basis.
Yeah. I always try and equate. I think as an older person myself, before, my training was a little more, well, it was always competitive and aesthetic based, but I'm still always going to be competitive, but I feel like I'm competing more with myself. But I've moved more from an aesthetic to, like, I'm not trying to train just for the look of it, although I will always have some level of vanity, which I think a healthy level of vanity is fine to keep people off the couch like myself. But I have a mind for, because we're all aging, but my friends and are probably older because I'm older, and I'm seeing some people not doing as well. So I don't want that for myself. I don't want that for my clients. So when I'm coaching, I'm trying to constantly remind people that we're squatting so that when you travel to Mexico and there's no toilet seat, you can pee without having to sit on the toilet seat or the bowl, or you'll be able to get up and down off the floor. And it's all those basic things that as a younger person, you're invincible, and you don't even think that this is going to be your life, but it is your life. If you have the good luck to get into your 60s and 70s and 80s.
Well, and there's, like, we're so sedentary. We live in countries that, like, it's almost like it is great because now you have another drive-through. Like, people are waiting to get that first parking space, right? Like, because, how can I walk 10 cars to get to the store? That's just too long. And I just think that functionality, just like, like understanding that movement is life, movement gives us, everything. So, I think for me, like, functional training is great. I personally use it a lot.
And would you tell us what you mean by that? Just because some of our listeners may not, some of our terminology sometimes.
Yeah, it's true.
So we'll let her tell us what functional training is for you, Maria.
So to me, and I think I mentioned like the farmer's carrier, and thank you, Alli, for the reminder that sometimes we made reference to things and people don't know what are we talking about. So when I talk about functional training, for me will be exercises or moves that normally I will do. So it will be squatting. So instead of like exercising and sitting on a piece of equipment, I will be doing exercises with dumbbells or with a kettlebell or with a bar or with, depends of like, like for me will be any of them with a resistance bands. And then I will be just doing exercises while I'm squatting. I could do a row, I could do a pull, a bicep, I can do a tricep or a swimmer. Excuse me. So, like step ups, right? Like, you have step ups with your dumbbells, which we have seen that throughout the exercise through aerobics, but then you can just do that, like weighted just to like really work those quads, working with TRX bands, working with medicine balls, balls,
all kind of toys.
Yeah, all, like just
but using your body, using
your lower
your
body and your upper body,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, to help you get stronger to do your daily things. So at times it's fascinating because Shawna, you were mentioning about being competitive. I don't think I would ever be someone that doesn't compete. Like, it's awful. Like, sometimes I'm like, turn that switch off. Like, don't compete anymore. Like, the person next to me doesn't know that I'm competing against them, but I do.
Yes, of course.
I'm swimming and I'm like looking at everybody in the lanes. And I'm like, even if the person is faster, I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna I'm gonna catch them. So it's like, it's impossible like to like pull that away from me. But on the other hand, like I just think that being strong, I love the part when someone said, oh, let me just help you with this. And I'm like, I can do it. And I am so proud of like being able to lift heavy things and not wait for someone to do it for myself. I mean, like, it just like takes a lot of pride. And people, no, I'm like,
it's fine.
I can do it. Thank you. Like, and I appreciate people trying to help, but I think it's just that independence and understanding that I have been training to also be able to do those things.
Yeah, you're strong. Yeah, with functional training, I tell clients we're not going to come and sit on a machine because we already sit. As you said, we sit so much. So we're going to use our body as the machine instead of coming and sitting on a machine. And so, yeah, we do. I know that Shawna does functional training. We do functional training. What about your role? I want to hear more about your role now because we don't see a lot of ladies, a lot of gals running, especially co-ed fitness centers, or at least we haven't in the past, and hopefully that's changing. And then why you've stayed all these years in this industry, because this industry can be kind of a wild ride. So tell us about that.
So it has been a journey. I mentioned earlier that I started working for Club Fitness Greensboro 24 years ago as a lifeguard who barely spoke English. So one thing that I also want to add to this is that sports like set a foundation on on me, completely. I think work ethics, working hard at everything, pushing boundaries, like setting goals, pushing the limits. So all of that kind of like has carry on with anything and everything that I've done. So when I had the opportunity to take over the aquatics program a few years after being here, it just like allowed me, like it's almost like natural, right? Like, it's a natural thing for me to like want to bring people together to help people build up. And it could be from the client side, it could be from the team side. And that kind of like one step has led me to the next. So the aquatics department, then operations manager, then manager of one club, then it was, like now overseeing both. And one person cannot do everything by itself, right? Like, when you are leading, you have a core group of people, and we have a core group of leaders that we work together, and anything that happens here, we just work and we make it happen together. We're a team. So it has been wonderful. It has been something that I would have never dreamed of, just because I came to United States when I was 20. I'm 47. I will be 47 this year. And I mean, how cool is that? Like, like just going to a new country, new language, new culture, and just like learning that people are so similar, no matter what language they speak, where do they live, where were they born. We all want the same thing. We all want the same thing. So and that you can create an impact no matter where you are, that the foundation that you have as a human being carries on anywhere. So I think to that, Alli, I have always been extremely comfortable on my skin. I have been very comfortable being a female. I am the oldest of three. I am the only girl. I have always been surrounded by guys, by men, by other people. So I have never seen myself like, oh, I cannot do it because I am a female. Or now I'm like, I'm gonna go head to head with you. And it may be that you will knock me down, but it's not gonna be an easy fight one, right? So it has just been fun.
Interesting. I love how one thing leads to another, and that's how a career is built. So, to our younger listeners, and I know there's always some confusion as to, what am I going to do? But you just do the first thing, and then the next thing happens. And then if you're following your heart, then a career is built, and that's how it goes. And that sounds like that's how it worked out for you.
100%. Yeah, I would say, Shawna. So I went to school for accounting. I love numbers. So numbers was, and people would always question me. They're like, you're so involved in sports. Why are you not going? Why don't you pursue a career, either with sports science, psychology, or something, right? And I'm like, I just love numbers. Maybe one day I will get the opportunity to combine the two of them. But one thing that I would say to just add to what you said, Shawna, is that I always give my best in whatever I'm doing. And if there is anything that I can tell people, is just to do the same. Things will evolve. We all will grow and opportunities will come. But if you're doing your best right now, if you're giving your best, you're 110, you're ready for the next thing.
More opportunities will come if you're doing your best.
Absolutely. 100%.
It's amazing. It's amazing how lucky you get when you're working really hard.
You're so
That's
lucky.
exactly
Yeah.
it. You're very lucky. Yeah. And it seems like you have combined numbers and sport, because managing a club, a facility, is all about the numbers.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, numbers have never been something that scare me, right? Like, that's something that has been part of I mean, like that was one of my passions too. So it has been just a beautiful merge, if I can say, for the things that I have passion for.
Yeah, so it's so funny how, like you said, Alli, how lucky you get when you just put your head down and really work hard. Do you see any trends or maybe negative trends that for women in the fitness space right now, things that women should steer away from in particular? What are like good and bad trends?
Well, I'm trying to be thoughtful for what I say. Like one thing, Shawna, that in Ali that I find is that we are in a very interesting industry because it's all about like well-being, right? Like, like physical and mental, and I think as we said, um, we like to look good. If we are exercising, it's almost like this side effect of, like getting that result, within your body, and then you're going to reflect all of that. But I find that at times there is this image that is almost like unrealistic that
Yeah,
they put out there for women, and it's hard for me to like grasp on it because it's almost like, what are we pushing women to look like? Right?
yeah,
Like, like we're not a cookie cutter thing that we all will look the same. Like, like we're all have like this beauty within us that why do we have to, and I'm not gonna kind of like call out like specific things. I think, like it's obvious what we're seeing, right? But then what are the things that now like makes a perfect woman, like, or a perfect body for a woman? And is that really like normal? And is that really realistic? And is that really what is going to get someone to be able to get down on the ground, get up, play with their kids or their grandkids, get
Yeah.
off and off the bed, their cars, their bathroom. I mean, just like tie their shoes because they can get down there, tie
Yeah.
their bras, right? Like, like just like things that I'm like,
Mhm. Men and women that will tell you that have been in the fitness competition space that you can have a certain look that people think is so fit and so healthy, and you feel so horrible.
yeah,
So it could, yeah, like those things that we're shooting for are not, and then even if we get them,
it's
we
empty.
realize how empty it is and how we're still not happy. So,
so
Yeah,
I think is the extremes, right? Like, I
yeah.
think what it's concerning to me is the extremes.
yeah,
And, maybe at one point I was extreme to some people because I was training 7 to 8 hours a day. And people be like, why are you doing that? Like, like you don't have a social life and you're sacrificing all these things, right? And I did it and I loved it.
yeah.
And maybe I was overtraining my body, right? Like, like, so I am no one to judge, like the choice of people. But I do think the messaging and the image that we are creating for perfect bodies, for healthy bodies, are not
Mhm.
necessarily what they need to look like. And then we need to almost like normalize on how we're going to get those measurements that are really going to help us understand if we are healthy or not.
Healthy comes in all shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
you're now doing things outside of your club to help this industry nationally, internationally with the Health and Fitness Association. So, how did you get involved with that? And
So
tell us more
I
about your role.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am serving on the board of the Health and Fitness Association. And I actually have been involved outside of the gyms for quite a while with nonprofits, with foundations. Locally, I have been extremely involved serving on various roles. And it was that call of, I mean, this industry has given me so much. This
Mm.
industry has, I'm so lucky because I've worked so hard, right? Like, but
You're
I
so
want to
lucky,
give.
Maria. You're so lucky.
I am. But so giving back is important. Giving back is important to me, and I feel that that's one of my buckets in life that makes my life meaningful. So I felt the call of, like serving the industry on a greater way than I was just only doing here locally. And then I applied to the board.
What do you see happening for women? Or do you see any trends or things that are happening at from the top down that are they paying attention to women and what's going on with women and how to serve women? What are you seeing in that realm? Or do we need to do more work there?
I do think that the work is just getting started. I think the work for women's health, normalizing a lot of the conversations, being in the perimenopause, stage, like now, I'm thrilled to know that I can just look for a podcast and educate myself on what are the things that I should be doing, like based on my age. But I don't think still there is much out there, in comparison to other things. I think these were breaking, like what it has been done for so long, because there is no one size fits all, right? And I think women have been put in the category of, you want to lose weight, you want to do this, then almost like do the same thing that the guys have been doing. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Well, we aren't small men or men. We are different. I mean, a lot of the exercises are going to be similar. I mean, a squat is a squat, but women's health is different than men's health, and more money is being spent. Women are being included in randomized controlled studies when before they were only performed with men. So things are expanding, which is really great news. But I agree that we're just cracking. Yeah, we're just scratching the surface. And so hopefully with people like you pushing, there will be more work. We'll get a little bit deeper into women's health so that we can truly help women. But you're an inspiration, and the work and the opportunities that you provide women are helping so many.
If you're so lucky.
Yeah. Well, women are lucky.
Yes, we're lucky to have
you guys
Marias
are doing
out
the
there.
Same thing. You guys are doing the same thing. So thank you. Thank you for creating this space. Thank you for educating. Thank you for, this takes work, right? And I appreciate you guys. And it's just, that's what I said. I cannot say it enough. It's a team effort. One person do it all. And it's almost like, as we find, who is doing the work, how can we continue to elevate and grow together? Because it's going to be the benefit of many.
Correct. If you had a wish for our listeners, Maria, what would it be?
To move more. We need a world that is moving more.
How about you, Alli?
My wish would be that we get more involved in promoting and educating and just getting more involved in women's health.
And my wish is that women would embrace the concept that health comes in all shapes and sizes. As you were saying, Maria, we have to kind of do away with that idealized stereotype and embrace health over aesthetics. I'm speaking to myself here as well, but health comes in all shapes and sizes, and offer ourselves a little grace.
Thanks for listening. You'll find me, Alli, on Instagram at Alli Kerr Fitness.
And you'll find me, Shawna, on Instagram at Shawna Kaminski. Feel free to pop us a DM with questions and or feedback. If you're enjoying the Girls Talk Healthy Aging podcast, please subscribe and share it with other health-minded women. Ratings and reviews are also much appreciated and help us get our message out to a larger audience.
Until next time, be healthy and be happy.